You're welcome to this session, this webinar. And the goal and the core thing we're looking at today is charting your learning journey. What do you understand by learning journey? How should you start it? What are the pros and cons that you have right now, especially when it comes to your learning journey in your organization? The learning path you have created for yourself, is it something that is sustainable? Is it something that would guarantee you financial freedom in about 2 to 5 years? How are you thinking about it? Are you thinking in terms of satisfaction? Are you thinking in terms of skill? Are you thinking in terms of work-life balance? Are you thinking in terms of financial ability and capacities? So there are different factors that determines why people set out their learning journey. But no matter what path we take, the goal here is that we set our goal on a particular path we hope to get, and then at the end, we are able to meet it and get to that destination thereof. So as we kick things off today, it's important for us to note the core things here, that old knowledge has a shorter half-life in the age of innovation. What that actually means is that everything you have learned, all the certifications, all the BScs, MScs that you've learned, I can categorically tell you that if you have not improved or gotten a degree or a certification post-COVID, so that means anything after 2020, the knowledge you have is classified as old knowledge. What that means is that there are certain problems, there are certain challenges that we have in the world today, and the knowledge that you have will not be adequate enough to solve them. And so we really do need to have that consciousness that there is a half-life for every form of knowledge, and it is getting shorter by the day. It is getting shorter by the moment. And so the only way to remain competitive is to continue to develop the skill, our knowledge, and our experiences on the job. Without that, we'll begin to become redundant. So it's a common notion that a man cannot grow faster than the quality of the things he learns and masters. You cannot learn something and forget what you've learned and not find newer ways of doing the things you do. And the goal of new knowledge is to make sure that we're able to do things faster, we're able to do things quickly, we are able to do it more efficiently and with less stress. If we don't need to do all of that, then we don't need to learn. But because we know that the world we live in becomes complex every day we wake up, a new layer of complexity has come to the world. And so we always need that consistent journey, consistent knowledge, consistent learning to be able to stay above the waters. If we stay with what we've learned in the last 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, what we are saying to ourselves is that we have given the water levels permission to rise above us. And when that happens, obviously, we drown. And anyone who drowns means that the world moves past them and they become very redundant. And no one really wants to. Many of us, it became a thing around 2019, 2020 about the VUCA world. But just like I mentioned, that the world is getting more complex. Now we have DVUCAD or VUCA D squared. Now what that means is that the world is becoming very volatile. The world is becoming very uncertain. The world is getting complex by the day. There's a lot of ambiguity coming into the equation. And now we have to deal with issues of diversity and issues, the world that we live in today. And we have to come to terms with it. So the question you need to ask yourself is simple. Do you have the skill to thrive in a VUCAD square world? Do you have the skills? Do you have the experience? Do you have the competence to survive in a VUCAD square world? And so these are things you need to begin to challenge yourself with. That the world is getting volatile. How can I solve it? The world is getting uncertain. How can I solve it? The world is becoming complex. Okay, that means I need to have a more complex level of solution to solve the complex problems. If the level of solution you are bringing is not as complex as the problem, what that means is that you will not be able to come up with an effective solution. And there are lots of people, even organizations, people in the workplace, they're experiencing complex problems, but they do not have the skills, the experience, the capacity to actually come up with solutions that solve these complex problems. Okay, so knowledge is becoming redundant because of the VUCAD square world that we are today. If you've not updated what you have learned, in the last 3 to 6 months, what that actually means is that you are no longer up to date. So this includes your degrees, your certifications, your skill, your experiences, what have you. Now, I'm also going to let us understand how to go about the VUCAD square world without breaking the bank. There are simple ways. It doesn't always have to be expensive. But one of the things we have to charge ourselves with is that we cannot afford to stay the same way for too long, because there are different things that will continue to come to challenge our workplace. And if we don't know how to navigate our learning journey, we're going to have ourselves to blame on the long run. And this is not really what anyone wants to engage with. And so in engaging the VUCAD world, how are we supposed to navigate it and make sure that we get the very best out of it? Now, education is no longer supposed to be like a big chunk. Now, what I mean by a big chunk is it's not something you invest 4 continuous years or 6 continuous years at a stretch. Education has evolved. And so the way in which education is supposed to be attacked has become different. Now, the future of education is nano. Nano means that combination of very small or minute pieces. So you keep adding what you know, not in big chunks, but in smaller chunks. So the next day, what is the new thing today that I can add to my experience? What is the new thing tomorrow I can add to my skill? What is the new thing next tomorrow that can improve my competence? This is the attitude in which we're supposed to face education today. So you don't always need, like I've mentioned, that one full big chunk for it to be efficient. No, we now begin to look at what is the most practical way. What is the most practical? So if I want to learn to drive, I don't need to go to driving school for 6 months or 3 months to learn the whole theoretical concept of driving, and learn everything they've been learning since 1930, since when the car was discovered, the different generations of cars. Those things are not relevant to solve the practical problems of the day. Now, obviously, when you are gaining a new knowledge, especially if it's your first, it's important to always start from the roots. So it means that at some point or the other, you will still have to engage with the concept of that skill, but you cannot stay there for too long, because the challenges of the day do not answer to concepts, they answer to strategies and tactics. And so the role in which education serves today is supposed to go at a nano level. So we begin to learn and continue to learn at a nano level. That actually allows us to work and learn every day in such a way that we can shrink the time it takes to learn a skill. The core thing about life now is that more of the skills we learn is through experience and practice. Because the problems that the world is experiencing, the VUCAD square world, needs practical solutions to its problems. And the only way to master practical solutions is to work on them in real time and not just have a theoretical knowledge of it, but to have that practical experience, that practical knowledge, which is the solution that we're actually all gaining for. Now, in the age and time we're in, especially anyone who was born anything before 1999 or year 2000, you need to know that today you are competing against 3 major things. Number one, you're competing against time. What that means is that most of the people in that age are getting towards their 30s now, mid-20s and 30s. And so what that means is that you're getting older. You're competing with time. The more older you become, you need to work differently. Because for every stage of life, and people don't understand this, for every stage of life, you need to adapt your age, your health, and your experiences to the work you're doing. The second thing is artificial intelligence. That's what we're competing against. Now, according to Forbes mentioned that before 2030, perhaps, AI is going to replace about 300 million jobs. Now, that is in the United States alone. Now, consider those that are in Africa, consider those in Europe, in Asia, in Australia. It means that within the next 7 years, artificial intelligence is going to rob a lot of people of their jobs. Now, you also need to understand this, that even though it appears that artificial intelligence will take some jobs, artificial intelligence will also create a lot of jobs. But the only people who will be able to get the jobs that artificial intelligence will create are the people who have the skill and the knowledge to collaborate with artificial intelligence. Okay, so that is the adaptation we have come to in the world today. And so one of the questions you can ask yourself is this: how can I collaborate with artificial intelligence? Now, the only way to ensure that you still have a job is not to fight against artificial intelligence, is actually to work with artificial intelligence. And so you must begin to see collaboration with AI instead of competition with AI. So if you're in a business now, in what way can artificial intelligence make business easier, faster, quicker for you? If you're in the corporate space, in what way can artificial intelligence make work easier for you? You don't have to spend 30 minutes, 1 hour, 1 week researching certain things. Artificial intelligence can actually get that done for you. However, the thing about artificial intelligence is that there is a certain way to communicate with artificial intelligence in order to get the best kind of results. So you don't treat the AI, or when I say AI, things like ChatGPT and all of that, you don't treat it like Google search. If you want just direct information, you can still make, really want to be creative with ideas and problems, that's where artificial intelligence actually comes. So you cannot ask AI a simple question like, what is a car? You can actually use Google search for that. But one of the ways to use artificial intelligence is the next stage of evolution or innovation. So these are the kind of cars we have now. You can now put into artificial intelligence, what's the future of the automobile, indices that you're going to put there. So that means that it takes a certain level of knowledge to actually get the very best out of artificial intelligence, which also means that it is not everyone that will make the best use of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is almost like machine language. What means that this is the language the machine understands. And it is people who are able to communicate in the machine language that will get the best out of machines. People who understood machine language were those who were our software engineers, those who are into coding, the ones who created and came up with solutions to the world's challenges or to the world's problems. Now, we don't all have to learn coding or machine language, as it were. Now, in the advent of artificial intelligence, there's a new way to engage life, and we'll also be sharing some of these things with you. The third thing you're competing against are Gen Alphas. Now, Gen Alphas are actually those who are born from 2004. These are the people who are born into the technology world. Many people are in the Gen X, Gen Y, were born when social media was just becoming a thing, computer system was just becoming a thing. So we still live a life of transition. But a lot of people who were born post 2000, they were born in that's their life. And so they are able to sense, pick, solve problem, interact with artificial intelligence and compute quicker and faster than you because you were not born into that system. Okay, that also means that because we are in a technologically driven world, many of the problems that will begin to arise by reason of technology, those who were not born in the age of technology might not be well suited to quickly and effectively solve that problem. Okay, so that means that we must understand three things you must have at the back of your mind. You're competing with time, you're competing with artificial intelligence new generation, which are the Gen Alphas. Now, moving on. We now need to take a look at the problem analysis, which is when it comes to your learning journey, how do you solve this problem? So I would walk you through an approach. And so for those who have pens and papers, this might actually be a good time to write some of these things down. Also, if there are questions that arise at any time, you can just use the chat segment as quickly as possible. So let's go through the problem analysis. One of the core questions you need to ask yourself, especially in the area of your skill, your experiences, your jobs, and what have you, is what is the most recent problem you are facing? Why is this important? The most recent problem is the newest problem. What that means is this, please listen to me. Problem you are engaging with that you have not effectively and efficiently solved today is a problem that started about 3 years ago. It means you are late in the game because more complex problems will arise and you might not still be able to solve them because by probability, if you have not been able to solve a problem that started 3 years ago, what is the guarantee that you'll be able to solve the problems that start today? And this is where because of your skill, your experience, and expertise comes in. There are certain challenges that might arise because there are problems of today. If your skill cannot match the problems of today, then you're going to have a very hard time trying to solve these things. Now, the other thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the latest skill that is required in your industry or your business? And ask yourself if you have that skill or if you know about that skill. The issue is that some people have been in a space, in an industry for so long that they don't even know what the latest way of solving problems are. And I always use this as an example, that these are the people who have the typewriter mindset in a keyboard system. No, it doesn't mean that you still can't type things with typewriter, but you waste a lot of time, a lot of resources, and your result will not be as efficient. So, for example, for those who were born in the age when we still use typewriters, how do you make corrections when you type a wrong letter on a typewriter? You'd have to roll out the paper, use a T-Pex to mark it out, slot it back in, and then enter the right thing. But in the world of a keyboard, all you just have to do is to backspace. Now, that actually lets you understand that in the system of the keyboard, it has found a more efficient way of solving problems that becomes a whole lot difficult in the age of the typewriters. And so you need to find for yourself the latest skill that is required in your industry to perform, to succeed, and to do well. If you don't have that at the back of your mind now, it means that you still have a lot of problems going forward. And these are something that you actually need to tend to solve. The third thing you need to ask yourself is, what is the most common response to daily business situation? This is simply called situational awareness. You must have a sense of situational awareness on the job. So what is the major thing that gives you concern on the job? What is the problem that keeps repeating itself on the job that seems like you have not found a solution? You need to have that and become aware of it. And then the core thing about problem and solving problems is, how do you save more time? How do you do it a lot more quickly? And how do you make sure that it is fixed for a longer period of time? Now, the quality of the solution you would have is one that is able to sustain the solved problem for a long time. There is no point trying to solve a problem that the moment you solve the problem reappears. That means that you do not have an effective or efficient way of solving the problem. And so before you actually begin to engage your learning journey, you must think first, make a problem analysis. And so these are some of the questions you need to ask yourself and find answers to in order to discover what the core problem is. Now, here are some of the different categories you might have based off of your discovery from what I just talked about. Now, to a large extent, many people, after doing that analysis, find out that the majority to be personalized with your experiences. And the more you work, the more you solve the skills, the more experience you learn. So you know that, okay, if I want to solve this problem quickly, then you also need to analyze it to know the state of the problems that you have. So your problem could be as a result of lack of skill. It could be as a result of lack of experience. It could also be a technology gap. That means that no matter what you do, you will never be as efficient in solving the problem because there's a technology gap. And the only way to become more effective in solving the problem is to embrace technology. Okay, so if We are still doing a lot of things, and we are using hard paper, and you have to fill a form physically with paper, and you've not moved digitally. It automatically means that you cannot be efficient in certain things. Okay, and so you need to begin to embrace technology in your day-to-day activities. Now, the other one, besides technology gap, is people problem. Now, because we are human beings and we are not machines, it is not possible to guarantee 100% effectiveness. Something could happen, we might lose focus, or we might be tired, we don't have energy, but we are not just in the right emotional frame to actually do the work effectively. That is a people problem. Okay, so you need to understand what category of problem you have. The other one is a process problem. That means that there are no systems or structure that allow for a very good workflow. And usually process problems are usually organizational problems, okay? So it's difficult for an individual to solve a process problem. They actually have to scale it up to the organization, and then from an organizational level, then they provide solution, that solves it. Now, besides now understanding the part of the problem analysis, now I want us to go into crafting and charting your own personal learning journey. This is where it gets very specific to you. So let's just get on with that. Now, I'll be giving us a series of steps to help us understand how to do this ourselves. For people who might still have challenges doing this by themselves, we might also be able to help with that. I'll give you more information by the end of this session. So like the first thing we did with the problem analysis is a self-assessment. Self-assessment is where you start everything. And by self-assessment, it means that you must identify what are your strengths, your weaknesses, and your areas of interest. Because every problem usually comes more from our areas of weaknesses. Okay, it can come from our areas of strength too, but areas of strength has more to do with efficiency and not core problems. So you need to find a way to test and identify your core strength areas, your core areas of weaknesses, and then your areas of interest. Because your career path, your learning path is always going to be geared towards the things that interest you, because that's where that emotional satisfaction comes. Now, after you've been able to assess yourself, then you need to set clear learning objective. That means what you do here is to define what you want to achieve through your learning journey. Like I mentioned at the beginning, different people have different goals. For some people, they want to ascend the career ladder. Some people, they want to be able to make more money. They want to be able to earn more money. They want to be paid a higher salary. Some people just want that sense of fulfillment. So depending on what your goal is, that is what will inform, how you set a clear learning objective. Now, the next thing is you now identify what your learning needs are. So what's the skill that is lacking? What's the competence that is required in order to meet this desired role? So no matter what role you are in, there are certain skills that will make sure that you do very well. Now, there are certain competencies that make sure that you become excellent. Okay, so you need to understand that skills make you do a good job, competencies make you do an excellent job. Okay, and so you must learn how to marry both skills and infuse them into competencies. Then there's a place of research and resources. What that means is that you now have to gather information about the available learning sources, such as maybe you want to go for a course, you want to read a book, you want to attend a training. This is where research and resources come in. Once that is done, you already have a map of what you want to do and the frame in which that is going to come from. Then you create your learning path. Now, by creating your learning path, it means that you now have to develop a structural path that outlines all the courses you're going to take, all the books you're going to read in a measuring way. So this is what I'll do first. This is what I'll do next. So that is you creating that learning path and how long each of these things actually take. Now, with that done, you select your learning methods, okay? This is actually based on what's the way you assimilate information and actually what works best for you. So this is a very personal approach. Then you also have to consider budget and resources. So you cannot say that you want to learn, I'm thinking of a course now, maybe competencies in artificial intelligence. And it costs, I'm using as an example, maybe it costs 500K to really master the foundational stage of artificial intelligence. If your budget of learning is 50,000 naira, you know that you will not be able to get that skill and competency at the level in which you should become competitive and strategic, okay? So you must, once budget and resources come in, it will fine tune some of your goals to know which is a reasonable goal to make and how you're actually going to space, those timelines so that you can probably have more resources or more budget to run at the end of the day. Now, we need to understand that this kind of path cannot be done as a person. You need knowledge, and not all knowledges will come through trainings and books. Some knowledges, some form of knowledge will come through mentors or experts or professionals. You need to find these people. You need to meet these people. You need to ask these people questions. And this is one of the areas where I feel LinkedIn is a very good platform. Now, LinkedIn actually gives you access to people who can become mentors and people who are experts in the industries. The only issue is that many of the times, many of us don't effectively use LinkedIn. We do more of sharing about personal things than actually asking questions. And one of the things you need to understand about people who are experts and professionals is they actually like answering questions. When they see a question that challenges them, they want to give answers to the best of their knowledge. And that builds the relationship you have with them and also gives you practical knowledge. So for example, if you work in the UK, for example, if you want to ask experts questions, it will be better to ask experts that are in the UK. So that means when you're checking your experts on LinkedIn and you go through the location, if you see an expert that is probably based in Nigeria, they might have the knowledge and all, but they might not have what is applicable to your scale, to your market. Because if you're in the UK, there are certain rules, certain laws, certain cultures that might be different from Nigeria, okay? And so you need to find those that are in your space, in your territory, and then engage them, okay? So you need to build that learning network. So after doing all of that, you now have to pay, enroll, on maybe it's a coaching session, a mentoring session, physical training, online training. You now have to go through that training. So is it going to take 2 days, 1 week, 6 months, 5 hours, depending on the time? You now execute your plan by enrolling in those courses and workshops. Now, they also need to track your progress. I mean, based on what you have set for yourself, you now regularly assess your progress. Okay, I've gotten to step 1. Okay, now I'm on step 2. Okay, I can't get to step 3 now because it's very expensive and I don't have the money for it yet. Okay, can I pen step 3 and see if I can do step 4? That is how to track your progress and make sure that you continue to grow in that. Now, many of this gives you a sense of certification or credentials after you've completed them, okay? So it's also important that you pursue the relevant certifications and credentials that would actually validate your skill and your knowledge, okay? So this is very key. Then, a lot of people don't understand this, and this is where LinkedIn is very important. You can use that as a very good platform too. The best way to master what you have learned is to share it. So if you learn a new thing, share that knowledge. People will add to it. People can critique it. Either way, you become the better for it. Okay, so it is not the best thing to have so much knowledge and just to keep it to yourself. You must learn to share it, and grow as a result. Okay, you also have to embrace that mindset of continuous learning. Learning never stops. Remember, we mentioned the half-life of old knowledge, because what you have learned today, if you wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, there's something new you can learn from that area as well. Okay, so always be on the lookout for information that helps. There's also the role of associations and networks. Okay, professional networks and association. It helps you to meet people of like mind. So for example, there are groups like Human Resources Group, SHRMs, CIPM. All these associations bring people of like minds together because it creates a culture that allows learning to happen naturally. Okay, so you also can begin to seek this, and you also have to understand that no one is an island of knowledge. Okay, so the more you interact with people, the more you find different areas that you can actually learn from. And then there is that feedback loop that you need to begin to take a look at. Continuously seek feedback from your mentors, from your colleagues, and even from yourself. What that means is that from time to time, run tests. See how much you have retained from what you have learned. Do you still know so much? Okay, do you need to update that knowledge? This is where continuous feedback loop will actually help you to get things done. Okay, so I've mentioned all of this. This is just a bit more pictorial. It helps us to understand all of the things I've just said. So in the area of your self-assessment, I mentioned, this is like a recap. You must understand your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and interests. These are the things that would help you chart the career path you're actually heading towards. And then with that, you need short-term goals and you need long-term goals. So short-term goals are goals that span across 3 months to 1 year. Long-term goals are more like 3 years to 5 years. So examples of short-term goals are goals that are based on your KPIs or your OKRs, as the case may be. Now, longer-term goals are like, okay, goals of career growth, goals of career change, goals of financials. Okay, these are more long-term goals. And these are goals you need to have in your career. If you've been working in a place for 3 years, 5 years, okay, how much have you earned? How much experience do you have? Have you gone up the career ladder? Okay, what is your scope? What is your scope of learning? Do you now have people who answer to you? These are goals that you all need to meet. You cannot just seek to stay at one point and lead one point through. Okay, so that's very important, necessary for you to know. So self-assessment, assess your core strengths and weaknesses, do your problem analysis, and then begin to set goals, learning goals, career goals, as the case may be. Okay, now let's come to the learning objectives and the learning needs. What are the challenges? This is where the problem analysis comes. So what's the common challenge that you face on the job? You must answer these questions by yourself. What are the common complaints I've gotten from my work, either from my colleagues or my superiors? What are the things that keep repeating itself? Okay, that means these are areas of challenge that you need to actually take a look at. What stresses you at work? What is that thing that continuously gives you stress? There are things you actually begin to know. So these will form your challenge quadrant. Then you go into your work motivations. So what that means is, what is the level of motivation you get from work? Do you work well with people? Do you work well with your supervisors, your superior? Do you work well with your colleagues? Okay, all of these affect the state of your work motivation. Do you always require supervision to do a good job? Okay, all of these things are questions you actually need to answer yourself, because it will affect how fast your career actually goes. There are a lot of people who have been at the same point for a period of time because of this motivation issue. So work motivation is something you have to take very seriously, because it actually holds the key to your next level, on the job. And then you need to find out what are the needed skills. Okay, so what skills am I lacking on the job? What do I need to have to remain competitive? When last did I have a training on my job skills? What are the top industry skills for my job? Okay, so you need to answer these questions for yourself. If you are in banking sector, if you're in the manufacturing sector, if you're in the consulting services, cosmetics, health, whatever sector you find yourself, find out what the top 10 skills to thrive in that sector are, and find out how many of those skills you actually have. Now, that then tells you the kind of skills you should have in order to remain to be competitive. Remember, there are three things we are always competing with. We're competing with time. We don't get younger. We're competing with artificial intelligence. We have to be smarter. And we're competing with the new generation, the Gen Alphas, okay? So you need to keep improving yourself at a faster rate than the market is evolving. That is only the way you can be at the top of things. So what are the top 5 skills that will make you perform better? You most likely get them from the top 10 skills of the industry, okay? So you see how this works. You get the top 10 skills of the industry, and then you sift it to the top 5 skills that will make you perform better on the job. Then from the top 5 skills that will make you perform better, what are the top 3 skills to stay competitive? Because there is no point spending a lot of money and resources learning just 10 skills. You have to streamline it to the things that are most valuable to you and most profitable to you, okay? So that's how to set your learning objectives and your needs. Now, this is just a way I've broken this down so that you understand how to use this and how you can make this work for you. So on one segment, you see the skills that this person I'm using as an example is going to learn or has needs. So the person needs to learn time management skills, needs to learn communication skills, needs to learn leadership skills, project management, emotional intelligence, decision-making, and business acumen. This person has found out that these are the skills that will make him or her competitive on the job. Now, you now have to break down the skills to the source of that information. So for example, the time management skill, the topic the person needs to focus on is mastering time management. And there are articles online, blogs that this person can actually read up and find tools that helps him or her to manage their time. Now, obviously, this is free because we don't have to pay for it. It's free online. Okay, so that's where under the budget you see free, because all you just have to do is to go online, read an article, practice it, gain the tools, and then be consistent in the use of it. And then you'd improve on your time management. Communication skills. He needs, the title is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's actually a book by Dale Carnegie. And then this person has said, it's going to take 1 week to read this book. And there's a friend that actually has this book. So he or she will borrow from that friend. So that budget is free as well. Okay, now in the comments section, to ascertain that this person has that skill, all it requires is accountability for communication improvement. Okay, look at the state of your communication now. And once you are done a week after the book, check your state of communication as well and see the feedback people give you based on how well you're communicating. The third one, which is leadership, what this person will do is to get mentoring from their line manager. And so the duration of this, it doesn't really have a specific duration, is on the job training. So this person will shadow their supervisor or their manager and learn more about leadership. Okay, and the only way to test that is the result of appraisal from this same supervisor or anybody at a position of authority. So you can see that these first three skills that we've mentioned are almost at no cost, because you can be creative about it. You don't have to pay for everything. Now, it's from number 4 that there's now like physical cash that you need to pay for this skill. So for project management, okay, so it's a training that lasts for 3 weeks. Emotional intelligence is training that lasts for 2 days. Decision making lasts for 2 days. Business acumen lasts for 5 days. And then the means or the structure. Project management is a physical class. This person would attend physically. Emotional intelligence is virtual. Okay, so this is a virtual experience. Decision making is an in-class training for this person. Business acumen is hybrid. So what this lets you understand is that in order to craft your own learning journey, you don't have to make things difficult for yourself. You don't have to make all things very expensive, buying books that are so expensive that you can easily see online, or getting mentors from people in your workplace or people in your church or people in your area. Maximize the resources and the people you have around you first before you now begin to pay for other forms of training. Okay, so if you've really done well with your learning strategy, this is the type of thing you're actually going to come up with as your learning path plan. So for example, here at Stresses Integrated, we have what you're seeing on the screen is just a lineup of some of our courses and trainings that we have running all the way through the end of the year. So things like collaborative project management, emotional intelligence, product management, project management, data analytics, artificial intelligence for decision making, entrepreneurship management program, design thinking, time management for busy professionals, strategic thinking and decision making. These are some of the courses and trainings that we have on our calendar. Obviously, yes, for people who are looking at group trainings, we always have that tailor-made training for them. So what that means is that maybe a group of people have found out that think the core trainings that they need are not in this calendar. And so they can come up to us and say, oh, can you help us with this? Or we noticed that, oh, you've done this training earlier in the year, but we really do need this. Okay, can you, just for us, curate this particular training? And these are some of the things that we are also able to do. The goal of this is for you to understand that as everyday club, we've got about 3 months before the end of the year. You can still maximize these 3 months to gain some of the knowledge that you need before the new year actually kicks in. And you can also go to our website. So this is what you see on our website, some of the courses that we have available, some that we've done in the past, and then begin to see. Now, it's important for you to know that these courses must be as a result of the discovery you've made from your problem analysis and from the objective of your learning journey you have created. You can't just say, oh, everybody is doing this course or this is the latest thing. You don't do it that way. It must actually suit a purpose in your learning journey. Okay, so that's one of the things we always advocate. So there are OKRs, healthcare management, finance for non-finance professionals, design strategy, designing for change, design thinking, effective communication, customer service excellence. There are lots of that you can see there. So if you could just go to stressesintegrated.com, and you have a lot of time to check through that and have all of your experiences. So it's important to note the courses that you need. It's also important to know the future of your course. There are certain courses that will remain redundant as time goes on, okay? And there's nothing you can do about it. So what that means for you is you need to begin to look out for courses that will make you more competitive. So for example, it's a known thing that roles like customer representation, roles like bookkeeping, many of these roles will be redundant in the next 3 to 5 years because AI is going to do this very well. So you need, if you find yourself that that's the industry in which you are, it's important for you to begin to see how you can shift, so that you don't get swept away and when that wave of change actually comes. Okay, so these are ways in which you can begin to see how to build creativity skills, leadership skills, management skills, these things will always still remain, in fashion. Now, the future of skills is collaborative, okay? And this is very important, and we must not forget this. Every skill you have now, you must begin to seek how to collaborate that skill with technology. So if you look at the screens you'd have traditional soft skills on one side, and then you have alternative AI skills on the other side. What it means is that take a look at the traditional soft skills. If there are skills that you require for your job, or to be effective as a human being, or as a person in corporate space, or as a person in business, you have to look at the alternative AI skills and learn it. So for example, it means that in the next 5 to 7 years, data storytelling is going to overshadow communication skills, okay? Things like AI augmented creativity is going to overshadow creativity. AI assisted problem analysis will overtake critical thinking. So everything you see on the alternative AI skill, they are actually going to overtake the traditional soft skills. So that means that you cannot just stay at the same point with the traditional soft skills that you have. You have to find ways to unlearn certain things and then relearn certain things, especially the things that would guarantee you some form of competition or sustainability in the future. So you can actually have a look at this screen, snap it if you can, so that you can find a way to go back and see the kind of skills that you can learn in the future, because this is very, very important. So things like customer service, negotiation skills, data literacy, digital literacy, compliance. There is an AI version already in the books, and very soon they're going to sweep out all of the traditional soft skills that we have. So it's important for you to find out how to make all of those things work. So based on what we've mentioned here so far, for people who might have questions outside this seminar, outside this session, you can always email us at learning@streetintegrated.com, and we'll be more than happy to respond to you or help you in whichever ways you need. Okay, so that is very key and very important. Now, I want to leave us with a quote by Brian Herbert. Brian Herbert says, "The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice." So with everything we have heard today and with everything we have said today, the choice will remain yours. If you will stick or stay with the traditional skills that are about to be swept away, or discomfort yourself in the pursuit of the next generation of skills. One of the things I can guarantee you is that if you discomfort yourself today to learn the skills of the future, it means that when the future becomes today, you will still be standing upright. Okay, so that is very important and very core for us. So every skill that you have, you must look at it with an eye of improvement, with an eye of the future, and then begin to grow, at it. Okay. So at this point, if we have questions, I will check our chat section to see the questions we'll probably have here. Okay, a lot of people are asking for the recording. Yes, the recording is going to be available. Everyone who attended the session, and it's also being streamed on YouTube as well. Okay, how do I get AI tools that can help me in human resource practice? Okay, now if we go back to some of the things we mentioned here, so I just want to go back to those AI skills. Now, you know that human resources itself is not one skill. They are a combination of skills that make up human resources. So for example, if human resources, one of the skills is like payroll management, emotional intelligence when you're dealing with people, effective communication skills, negotiation skills, assertive communication, all of these networking, team building, compliance, these are skills that all find themselves in human resources. So what you can do is like this screen that you're seeing, what you should do is look at the skills that you need to be effective in human resources, and then see the artificial intel, AI alternatives. And one of the things we are also working towards in the future is to begin to offer these alternative AIs, because that really is the future. But one of the things you need to understand, like the footnotes on this page says that traditional skills are actually prerequisite. You cannot jump to alternative AI skills if you don't have some form of foundation in traditional soft skills. Okay, so that is very important for us to note. So, but one of the things you can be rest assured is before the end of the year, or most likely by the beginning of the next year, we already have these courses and trainings that we're curating as well, because we understand that the future is already here. And the best time to dig a well is not when you're thirsty, it's before you actually get that thirst. And so one of the things, as Tri said, we want to do is to begin to curate all of these skills before the major problem actually hits the market. So to answer that questions, I hope that answers them. One of the things you can also do is I could give certain recommendations beyond the ones that we see on the screen right now. Especially, it has to be tailor-made to you. That is why that part of your problem analysis is key. You must know the core skills you need and the core competencies you need in order to be very efficient at whatever you do. Okay. So I would not know if there are any other questions. I'm checking the chat section if we have any other questions here. Okay, yeah, so far so good. No other questions. But one of the things I would want to leave us with is this. The future is for the taking, and many of the skills you have today will not be efficient to solve the challenges of the future. And so it's important for us to arm ourselves, develop ourselves, grow ourselves, never get tired of learning, never get tired of improving the quality of the skills that you have. And so it's very important to take some of these things seriously. One of the things I also wanted to share with us again are the list of the calendars we have. And so you might find some of them actually very handy for you. So what you just have to do, so let me share that screen with you again. Okay. Yeah. So till the end of the year, these are some of the trainings we are actively engaged with. Now, it does not mean that we do not still have like specific trainings, maybe for groups, and organizational needs. But once you find out that one of the core skills you need based on the problem analysis you've done is in this, you just have to contact us or secure your slot for any of these training days. And we'll be more than happy to engage you in conversations, no matter what they are. I would want to check any other questions. Please, yes, there will be a recording. Yes, like if you check this chat section, so on our YouTube, this session will actually be there. So once you click that SIL Academy on the chat section, you would have access to this session, okay? Yeah, so if you have any other questions, we'll be more than happy to respond. But if there are no other questions, we hope that we get to meet again. Yeah. Yeah, so I've responded to the AI tools. So one of the things we can do is, so this part that shows the traditional skills and yes, here. It's important for you to understand which of these skills you actually need, and then we can also help you with the trainings or knowledge with this particular area. So just send us a mail, and then any learning needs, any challenges, and we'll be more than happy to respond to you. We are also on social media platforms. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. So reach out to us there, and we'll be more than happy to respond to you. So on Instagram at StreetSet Integrated, YouTube, just Google, search the word SIL Academy. You would reach out, or you can go to our website. All of our social media plugins are there, streetsetintegrated.com, and you have all the information you have there. Okay, so I'll give us about 1 minute more. If there are no questions, we're going to call it a day. I would want to especially thank everyone who has been a part of this. It just shows how much intentional we are about learning, growth, and development. So the future is in learning. And one of the things you need to understand is that when people begin to complain about job losses and all, what you just have to do is to take that strategic position of getting the jobs that will be in demand. And make sure you learn an AI skill, no matter what you do. So if you are a singer, how can AI help your singing? If you're in the health sector, how can AI help you? If you're in business, how can AI help you in making decisions? If you're in the corporate space, communication skills, negotiation skills, bookkeeping skills, there's all AI. AI is a platform, that all the skills that we currently have are seated upon. So we just have to set that up running. And at the end of this month, I believe, we have an AI for decision-making training. I think that